This is the Weber Workshop's EG-1 V3, and it cost me $4,730.66 after shipping, tax, and import fees to the United States. Well, closer to $4,360 if you take out the Moonraker and the paper filter dock. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about the grinder, and I'm hoping to be able to answer them all either in this video or in the full review. But first, you're probably wondering, why did I buy this? I've been reviewing coffee equipment for a few years now, and there's always been this air of mystery surrounding the Weber Workshop grinders. Mainly because A, they're incredibly expensive machines, and B, there simply aren't a lot of reviews out there covering grinders of this caliber because of point A. Now personally, I've been eyeing this grinder ever since I first had a chance to handle one at the SCA Expo in Boston back in 2022. As someone who does appreciate good design and engineering, the EG-1 has always been this holy grail of attention to detail whilst bringing an incredibly enjoyable workflow and of course, good taste in the cup. Now when you're in the market for a grinder in this price range, there are really just a handful of options that I've seen out there, not including commercial machines. Two out of those handful of options include either a Weber Workshops grinder or something like an Option O. Now I took into consideration two main factors before making a purchasing decision. First, what kind of coffee do I enjoy? And second, how much of the coffee brewing process matters to me. So first, after almost 4 years now into this hobby, I've learned that personally I enjoy a light roast cup of coffee for filter brews with a good level of clarity, not too harsh acidity, and generally a richer, more textural experience with the mouthfeel. For espresso, I like a more traditional syrupy style shot, especially blended with milk, since I am enjoying something like a cortado or a flat white about 90% of the time. The 80mm core burrs on the EG-1 may be better suited for my preferences in this case. And secondly, I do enjoy a slow coffee routine with a very hands-on experience. It's largely why I've kept the Profitec Pro 800 on my coffee bar more often than not, because the lever machine is just such a fun and enjoyable way to brew coffee. Now, I personally think that the EG-1 here supports that narrative with all the little unnecessary yet enjoyable gadgets and bits that it does come with. Aesthetically, this grinder looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. It's got a telescope or microscope-like design with dials, magnets, and buttons here and there. Similarly, I moved from shooting on a Sony camera to the Fujifilm for this more analog and tactile experience. So that's mainly why I bought the EG-1. This grinder took about 11 days to get to me, with an entire week excruciatingly stuck in customs, and for a grinder of this caliber and price, the unboxing experience was pretty anticlimactic, if I'm being honest. The grinder arrived in what I call a very average level of packaging, housed in foam cut to size, which is then inserted into a cardboard box slapped with a Weber sticker. Now, I'm not expecting something like the decent espresso machine suitcase or maybe this recent manual lever espresso machine briefcase I saw, but I really do wish it had something a little more exciting about the unboxing. Maybe even a crate like the Option O grinder would have been a little cool. Taking it out of the box, the first thing you notice about the grinder is how huge and heavy it is. Though setting it up was pretty straightforward following the online guide, and from there, things are ready to go. So getting into the first impressions. This has been on my bar for about nearly a month now at the time of recording, and I've been using this single grinder for both filter and espresso for the most part, and the stepped adjustments here have actually made this surprisingly easy to do. But more testing will be needed before I can make any definitive statements there. Now, other first impressions are, it's big. It's roughly the height of the Profitec Pro 800 and has a very wide footprint. The telescopic shape makes it appear to use more volume than it actually does. The quality of the components here are all really nice, as expected, but there are a few very minor nitpicks that I've already noticed that I'm going to talk about more in my full review after I have a little bit more time with this grinder, but overall, it's quite solid. So the magnetic collar and components here, while all very nice, are surprisingly harder than you'd anticipate to remove until you really get a feel for it and aren't nervous about the parts sort of dinging each other and scratching things up. And in case you're wondering, I will have a separate dedicated review of the Moonraker as well. Now, using a grinder like this has been very enjoyable. I've got a handful of reels now over on my Instagram page that showcases the steps in my espresso puck preparation. I have noticed that using the magic tumbler while preparing espresso for a larger crowd is going to be a little slow and can get a little annoying while you sort of stand there in the corner making coffee whilst constantly sounding like you're dinging a bell. Now, coffee-wise, I've had just about zero complaints. Again, I'll talk about this more in my full review, but brews have been striking that perfect middle of juicy, sweet, rich, textural, yet high in clarity, and my espressos have really had their flavor notes highlighted, even in my primarily milk-based drink consumption. I'm really excited to delve more into this grinder and other sorts of coffees and brewing methods through it, but for now, I hope you enjoyed watching. Subscribe if you haven't already to get notified for the full review, and I'll see you in the next one.